welcome to another video. This one is a step in a good direction, but a very different direction than what we've been doing. So you guys know this car. It's an FC RX7. This is getting an LS1 with a 488 T56, rear radiator, full tube front, tube rear, Lexan, everything, fiberglass, everything. Crazy car. Off the rails drift car. But in the meantime, I need something to drift. So why not buy another car? I bought another FC. So I bought this FC off of a buddy. This is gonna be a rotary car. It'll remain a rotary car. Be a very simple seat time drift car, street car. As you can see, there's definitely some damage and there's some things that we gotta fix. So I got this really cheap and you can see it's definitely not in the best of shape. Let me just give you a quick little idea and rundown of what we're doing. So like I said, this car is gonna be ridiculous. Off the rails, everything that you can think of. Full wide fab front and rear, like a ridiculous car. This car is not. This is gonna be a street drift car, kind of just go back and forth. So with that being said, this car, when I bought it, came with full PBM rear and it came with a Villains front angle kit. So I'm gonna throw all of that on this with Megan Racing coilovers that came with this car. Throw all of that. So this thing will have full drift suspension in 4 or 5 hours worth of work. We've got this rear end was actually hit by a drunk driver, so we're repairing that with the rear end that we cut off of this car. As you can see, if you missed that video, we cut the rear end off of this car because it's getting a full fiberglass rear clip. So this is we're gonna cut the skin off of this and weld it on there and body work it and all that. And then this car came with a dented hood, so we just took that off and set it over there with the other hood. And it came with no fenders and no front bumper. So those are going on this car. So realistically, body-wise, we can have this thing looking solid pretty quickly and with minor work. And then the suspension work, 100% gonna be solid. This interior is clearly filthy. So I wanted to only get one seat, get a driver's seat, and then keep the passenger seat stock. But I mean, there's literally like, that's old oil, but it does not look like that. And then the carpet is horrendous. So I think what we're gonna end up doing is ripping out the interior, getting a carpet kit, putting a new carpet in it, getting some Sparco Sprints, putting those in for the seats. We'll probably get a steering wheel. I don't mind the stock steering wheel. We'll see what we're gonna do on that. And then, so we're gonna get the interior solid. The rear is probably gonna be gutted, but maybe I'll do like a carpet kit or something. But yeah, so then our other dilemma is this car does not run. So it's a 13B, which is a 2-rotor. I don't know much about these motors, but this is a 30,000 mile motor. Just recently refreshed. It's got a full exhaust from the headers back, so it should sound good. Once we get it running good, we'll probably have to do things like a newer, like a full aluminum radiator, because I've heard that these plastic ones are just not great if you're gonna be pushing the cars. And then I'm sure we're gonna run into a few like electrical things that we gotta fix, and we just gotta get this thing running. So that's the plan, that's the update. So let's just get right into, this wasn't actually cut when I bought the car. I'll show you a picture of when I bought the car. It was just hit, so we've already started cutting it. I had a buddy over, so I wasn't really filming, but started cutting that. I'll show you guys a little bit of that, and then show you guys this going on. So let's get to it. Gotta record that with you. Ready? All right, so we've made a ton of progress today. We're not done, but we've made a ton of progress today. I'm debating now if I want to cut this inner structure off even and weld to this, because as you can see, this is our inner structure that the gas filler neck comes through. and this is all that was hit. So this all got pretty messed up. All this inner fender well and everything, like all that got messed up. To do that, we'd have to drop the tank and take this wheel off and get in here and really like start cutting a lot away. I kind of would like to stay away from that, but that is the right way to do it. And I'm never gonna do this again. Like this is our piece that we're throwing on. This is from the race car, obviously. So this is from this car, from the rear end of this car. So this is gonna get welded on and that's gonna be it. I don't wanna not do it and then regret it later. You know, this is a hard one. It's really like a difficult decision. So my options are either cut along this, so drop the tank, take all this electrical back, take the wheel off, jack it up, cut this here all the way around, and then cut that one out and put it in there, weld it in, and then we can work on welding this on. Or I try and straighten out the bottom of this as much as I can. I make all my edges nice and smooth, and then I get this fit on, weld it on, and then we take the wheel off, we go inside, and we just like patch any of these with like a single sheet of metal, and then obviously undercoat it. But those are my options. This gas filler neck actually is a little bent too, I just realized, so gonna have to either fix that or figure out what we're gonna do for that. But yeah, we're making a lot of progress. This thing is all like pretty much, I'm gonna try it right now. I think it should actually just slide right on there. All right, so today we're gonna take a little break from from this whole situation. Well, in a way we're gonna take a break from it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get the car on jack stands all the way around, take all the wheels off, and we're gonna do all the suspension changing over. So we're going to swap the rear subframes and the front subframes. But while the rear subframe is out, if it's easier, we're going to drop the tank out. If it's easier while this rear subframe's out. I think it will be, so we might as well just knock that out while we're at it. And if that means we don't put in the rear suspension yet, then that's what that means. But we're at least gonna take all the stock stuff out, and it'll be in jack stands in a good enough position to where we can still close the shop and all that. So yeah, that's the plan. We're gonna go ahead and get into it. All right, so we dropped out the rear subframe and diff and axles. Going to clean up the diff. We're gonna crack it open. We're gonna weld, well, I don't know if we'll weld it tonight, but we'll get it ready to be welded. We'll take these axles off, we'll slide them into these hubs and just start making this assembly ready to go in here. But before we do all that, I'm gonna push this under the car. I'm gonna slide this over here so we have room, clean up a little bit under there, and then we're gonna drop the tank, which I'm not looking forward to at all, but needs to happen. So yeah, it's kind of crazy how this looks though, compared to that. So very excited to have this thing on some good suspension. All right, so we got the brake rotor off, we got the the calipers hanging. So now what we need to do, we figured out how we're gonna suspend the motor. So we need to figure out how to undo the motor mounts. I believe we can actually hit those from the bottom, so we're gonna try and do that. So we'll hang the motor, and then once we do that, we need to disconnect the steering column from the rack, and then drop the subframe completely. We need to take these nuts off too, so that we can just drop the entire subframe as one unit. I really wish I had more of those rolling things, but it's whatever. So yeah, motor mounts, steering, and then the rest of it. All right, so as you can see, front and rear stock subframes and suspension are all out. We got the front end together completely. So the only thing that I need to do up here is I need to rebuild this power steering line with an AN line because it's dumb. Like it spins, neither side spins. So you either have to thread it onto the rack and then try and thread it into this fitting down here without kinking. Like there's no way to do it. So I'm gonna make it an AN line so that I can turn it on like easier. But yeah, all of this is on. So Techno Toy Tuning tie rods, Villains angle kit, and Megan Racing coilovers, which aren't, I mean, they're not great, but they're gonna get the job done. So I'm not gonna lie, it was a pain in the butt because I had to suspend the motor and I had to use the cherry picker to do that. And so the legs were underneath in the way. I had to send the subframe up from the inside or from the side. It was definitely not fun. So I'm filthy and I'm tired, but we're not done. All right, so as you guys can see, got this side all grafted in. Got all the back welded all the way down. This is pretty nice. We're gonna have to obviously mud it a little bit because there's like a low spot right here and a low spot like right here, but that's expected. So a little bit of Bondo, it'll be fine. Now up here, we knew that we had to cut this a little bit farther forward so that we could actually pull this out all the way. However, it's still cut at, this was cut at an angle, so I'm gonna cut it straight now, give ourselves a full, that's just a 3/4 inch gap all the way down, and then we'll fill that with sheet metal. So I'm gonna go ahead and make that cut, but we're making good progress on this thing. Pretty happy with that right there. That looks good. The lines are good, so we'll be able to just throw some mud on that thing, paint it, and you won't even know. So we've got most of our strip laid in here. Now we're just gonna cut on the body side. So I figured we might as well work this way with it. So we're gonna cut this side now and push it all flat and get it all welded in. So as you can see, this side is dented in. There was some body filler and all that too. But yeah, we're ready to just push this in a little bit, bend this out after we cut this, and then we can weld that, and then we can start finish welding the whole thing. Well, I will admit, this one didn't come out as perfect as I wanted to. There's a big low spot here and a big high spot here, so it's kind of like tweaked out a little bit. But nothing that isn't gonna get fixed with mud. So we should be able to get that body line. And this body line right here is just a little bit like sunk in right here. On this panel, it was like sunk in, so could be better, could be worse. We'll throw some mud on it. I'm gonna DA sand all this real quick, make sure it's all ready to get some mud on it. We'll throw one layer on tonight, and then tomorrow we'll come back, we'll sand it, we'll do another layer, and then you know, that's how it goes. Also, I apologize, I'm not really filming a lot like of the process physically, like me doing this stuff. I'm just really trying to, like, I know this is gonna be a long video, long-ish video, so trying to keep like the stuff that would be boring to someone else out of it, just kind of giving you the explanation of what we're doing and doing it, and then showing you that wheel arch. We ended up getting that wheel arch pretty good too, so yeah. Anyways, so apologies if you wanted to see that. If you want to see all the detailed stuff, that's what this car's for, showing you everything. So yeah, anyways, looking good. Let's go ahead and DA it, and then we will throw some mud on it. Okay, let me preface this with, I am not a body and paint guy. Granted, I have done body work and paint work, but I'm no professional. So if you're a body and paint guy and you came across this video and you just were like, oh yeah, I want to see what he's doing, leave your constructive criticism in the comments. But I don't I'm not saying that I'm by no means a professional, so it's not perfect. However, got the first layer on. I think this is too thick for the first layer. This honestly didn't need much. And so I was kind of just like, you know what? I'll get enough on there that I won't have to do another pass on this. This might need a little bit more in this section where that big low was. But other than that, I think we should be able to shape it all out, like this body line and stuff. It might need a little bit more on there, like right about here. But I mean, I'm pretty happy with it. It's gonna be fine, you know. Realistically, this didn't even have to come past this line and this line, so I definitely used a little bit. Oh man, I didn't want that on there, but I definitely used a little bit more than technically necessary. And then as for all this stuff, guys, this is all gonna get covered up with the bumper and taillight. So what we're gonna do is just put some caulking in here and fill it all so that it's like sealed. This, I'll probably do the same thing. I was gonna hit it with the body filler, but it kind of doesn't need it. So I'm just gonna do like a thin layer of caulking on my fingers, but all good. So I'm pretty happy with it. This thing's looking really good so far. So yeah, making good progress on this thing. It's only been 1 week. So in 1 week, we got all the front suspension switched over. We got the rear tank dropped out. We got the rear subframe dropped out. We got that entire rear clip fixed. We got, what else did we do? I guess that's it. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot for just a week. And realistically, it's only like 2 or 3 days of actually working on it. So making good time on this thing. All right, so the back is looking pretty good. I'm gonna have to add a little bit to continue that flawless seam that we have going on here. It's honestly really good. Feeling it and everything. I do have a high spot here that I need to just get a body hammer and tap flat. And then I have one here that I need to tap flat. But other than that, this feels really good. Now, not so much up here. We are definitely gonna have to work at this pretty good. So I guess like my issues with this one, it's high here obviously, which we knew, and it's pretty low here. So I need to just come in a little bit more with the filler here, but I think I'm gonna try and tap this down first a little bit so that it's not so dramatic of a high spot. I do need to just sand this down more because this is super thick and it doesn't need to be. But yeah, I knew this was gonna be the harder piece because it's such a long piece, and without using compressed air like I should have been, I was kind of rushing it, and so I put a lot of heat into it, and as you can see, it like warped it all pretty good. So I knew that the heat was gonna kind of mess with the metal and make it hard for us, but it's definitely a little bit worse than I thought. Much better. Much better. All right, that should be dryish now because I just spent some time working on this. The only issue is this right here, this little like divot. There's like one little one right here too. But I think with a high build primer, it should be fine. Okay, so not as much of a pain as the front was, but it was still a little bit much. Rear suspension's in. All right, exciting stuff. Car's on the ground right now. Well, the rear. The front, I got this hose out, and the one that was in the power steering rack that was only one side was tightening, it's because this was just literally rusted in place. So freed it up. We're gonna clean it up a little bit more and then we'll throw it back in. And then we can add some power steering fluid and we can actually steer this thing. We're gonna move it out, close the hatch, and we're gonna pressure wash this thing because it really badly needs it. But man, this thing looks cool. I like it on the IS300 stocks, honestly. It looks kind of cool. The reason I did that though is because one of these rear tires is completely flat, so yeah. Anyways, we'll move this thing out shortly. Well, it's officially on its own weight on the new subframes. It's really low. It looks sick though. So I'm gonna go ahead and move it out. I need to take that off. I just wanted to see it on there. I'm gonna roll it out and see what it looks like. I want to put the bumper on, and I want to put the front end on, but it's just like, it doesn't need to happen for one, and then like, it's literally just gonna come right back in here. So I don't know, we'll see. Maybe I'll put it on after it's washed or whatever and we move it back in, but for now, I'm just gonna roll it out there. I'm gonna pressure wash it, see where all this underlying rust actually is. See how much crap falls out the bottom. I'm gonna try and roll it all the way out to the street so that I can do it out there and not have a mess in the driveway. But yeah, let's make this happen. All right, it's ready to be washed. I ended up throwing the bumper on. Well, somewhat on. It's not like fully bolted up. You can see there's a gap there because it's not bolted up. And the taillights, so looks cool. I'm excited to get this car done. Wash the car, got it pushed back in here. It looks totally different now that it's not all disgusting, so that's cool. I still need to clean the interior out, and I definitely need to fix the ride height because that is literally pretty much rubbing. So yeah, and then the other thing, big thing to note is I got my new welder, so Lincoln Square Wave TIG 175. So it does stick and TIG welding, AC and DC, so pretty cool. Pretty happy about that. Another thing, I got a Walbro 250 right here, fuel pump that looks, as you can tell, pretty much brand new. It sat in my buddy's 240 tank for like not even 2 weeks before he wrecked it, so pretty much brand new. I mean, look at it, you know, you can kind of tell. But we're getting close to firing this thing. I got to get a battery soon and order the ignition switch set up, so it's getting closer though. New pump is on the hanger. The old pump is obviously out. All right, guys, it is Christmas Day, so really not much that I'm going to be out here for today. I don't have a ton of time to like eat dinner and all that nonsense. But got the seats out, both sides, vacuumed it up a little bit. You guys know that this side was destroyed from oil. It doesn't look as bad now. I definitely want to shampoo it and see if I can bring it back to life. If not, we're going to eventually do a carpet kit. Cleaned up, like wiped all this down. It looks way nicer. I need to empty this out and then vacuum off the seats. I'll probably throw the driver's seat back in and leave this side out for now. I'm really tired, but we just gotta keep working, man. Just gotta keep working. So I'm gonna try and fix some of like the rust, the surface rust that is on the car. Some of the spots that we're gonna honestly probably have to cut out and redo. I don't know. We're gonna have to figure it all out. The sunroof is really bad. The rear hatch, it looks like it's just surface. There's definitely some oxidation in it, so I might try and peel. I don't know, we'll figure it out, but let me show you real quick. So one of the things we gotta do is finish welding that up and then seam seal that and paint it. Another thing, like I was saying, this just looks like oxidation in the paint that led to a little bit of rust in here. There's like 2 spots. It's not too bad. It's weird because it's the same spot as that hatch. So it's kind of funny. Not funny, but it's kind of, I don't know. But the sunroof is rough. This is a hole. Like, actually, that's a hole. This is pretty soft. If I got a screwdriver or a pick, I could probably push right through it, create another hole. Lots of oxidation and issues up in here. That's another problem. As for these front fenders we got to work on. That's where the old, like the side skirts that came on that car were like, they were literally just self-tapped on there. So we got to fill those holes. We got to do the same up front because it had a different bumper up front. And then this, I don't really know exactly how I'm going to do that yet because I don't have a press brake here. So we're just going to have to come up with some way to create that, that shape, but we'll figure it out somehow, I'm sure. Well, I discovered that this car has a million little holes in it, so filling all of them. Really not ideal, but that's just how it goes, I guess. Kind of working on the headlight wiring. So this motor I think is bad because I went and tested everything and all the wiring is good, but it doesn't want to move. So I'm gonna try and put the other motor in and see what happens. Oh yeah, this is cool. This is cool. Nice. All right, we just got the metal replacement in, so we're gonna go ahead and figure out all this assembly going back in. And here and out to this thing. Currently filling her up. Almost there. We're going 4 gallons. Yeah, we're starting to get some air, so we're pretty close to full. 4 gallons. I mixed in some 2-cycle oil already, and we added oil to the motor, tightened the drain bolt already, put the new filter on, and we're ready to try and start this thing in just a second here. It sounds like it's not getting fuel. I know it's going to take a long time to start. You know, I know it's going to be just like that. But I don't know. It also sounds like it needs more juice in the battery. I don't know. Rotaries are weird. They're hard. So just going to kind of mess with a few things and see what happens. So I wasn't getting any power to the fuel pump. So let's see. Yep, fuel pump's on now. So now let's see what happens. This is jumped power, so we're gonna have to fix it like legit if we want, but. Yep, it made a lot of smoke. Golly. Oh my gosh, it's alive. I need to trace these wires and figure out why I don't have power. Get power to it on the ignition. So that might be why that... So I was told that this car wouldn't start with the ignition. That might be why. And if that's the case, then I need to figure out... why this wire is not getting power when you switch the ignition on. So we'll have to just basically retrace this wire, but man, that's gonna be not fun at all, but we'll try and figure it out. And if we do have to run another wire from the battery all the way down and through the car and yada, 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 all the way back here, we will. I don't want to. So see if we can figure this out. And if not, then, I mean, yeah, this thing sounds crazy though, which is cool. Okay, so we do expect smoke. I just don't know how much you should normally have. It seemed a little excessive. Granted, that was the first startup of this car in a long time, so there might have been moisture in the keg, but we'll go ahead and start it again. I added some water. Yeah, we'll start it again. I'm gonna try and let it run for a little bit and then see what happens. So it's smoky. So I went ahead and threw the mufflers on and the bumper and the taillights, just because I don't know that I'm gonna try to drive it today. There's still a lot of things to button up. But if I want to even try and just go around the neighborhood, the last thing I want is to just get pulled over right away. So I'm gonna try and start it right now with the rear end up and put it in gear. I know that the clutch needs to be bled, but I'm the only one here right now, so I can't really do that without like the kits to make you to do it without someone else. So I'm just gonna start it, see if it goes into gear and goes through the gears and all that nonsense. We are stuck in the shop. We're gonna smoke it out pretty bad, but hopefully the mufflers kind of take some of that, and I don't really know. It needs to get up to operating temp so that the coolant seals within the keg can expand, and then once they expand, the smoke will be much less. It's normal for these cars to smoke. It's not normal for them to smoke as much as this one did, but yeah. I mean, that was the first startup in a long time. There's probably a lot of moisture built up in the keg. That that just needs to get burned out, and then the coolant seals, once they expand, it'll smoke way less. So, oh, it sounds way better with mufflers. Yeah, we're already getting less smoke, so that's good. Dude, it sounds way better with mufflers. See, as you can see, there is still some smoke. Let's go ahead and put it into gear. Man, this thing smells good too. My battery tie down's pretty good too, as you can see. It sounds way better. Sounds like it might be missing too though. Alright guys, so I really wanted to have the initial thought with this video was to have the car completely built, fully finished, everything, before I uploaded this video. However, the way that life goes, and you know, having multiple cars to work on, doing the editing myself, doing the videotaping myself, doing the work myself, it's a lot. So it's hard to do all these things and then upload videos consistently. And that's what we're going for this year, 2025. I'm trying to upload videos consistently. So if you're interested in seeing this car drift, it will be drifting at the track February 28th, which is kind of far away. Gives us some time to do some little tune-up things that we're gonna have to do. So those will also be videos. That car is gonna get some work on it soon, some fabrication work up front, some fabrication in the rear. We're gonna put the Big Duck Club rear clip on that car soon. So there's a lot coming up. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of things that I can make videos on, make content on. So if you're interested in that, I'm becoming an RX-7, what's the word? Connoisseur? I don't know. I've always been a connoisseur of RX-7. That's not the word. A hoarder? Maybe? Maybe. Anyways, I appreciate you guys watching the video. Sorry that I couldn't do a full build RX-7. I'm not some big YouTuber that has a ton of money that can just flip cars like that, you know, but for less than a month to buy a crashed, not running RX-7 and to turn it into a running, driving, full drift suspension RX-7 with minimal body damage, I'm pretty proud of it. So it's been 3.5 weeks. Like that's pretty good. With that being said, I appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you guys subscribing if you do. If you don't, you should. We do a lot of cool stuff. Gotta build that motor soon. That car's getting a 5.7 LS1, so if you're into that, you know, we do that too. So thanks for watching. I'm gonna do one more like sound clip for you guys, and then that'll be it for the video. So see you guys next time.